So today, Devin, happy to have you on the pod, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a long time coming. I feel like I've known you for a while, and we're getting the coffee or lunch at least like once a year for a while there.
Not enough.
Yeah, really not enough. I feel like, we're both pretty busy.
Yeah.
Like you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. We're always running around doing things. Do you remember the first time we met? I bet you don't remember.
No, I do. We ran into each other. We were shooting something for Austin, and we ran into each other on the sidewalk, right? Or no, you were shooting Super 73 something.
With Tyler Bishop,
yes,
right? And it was like during COVID, peak COVID, like dead streets. Yeah. And then like we see a car pull up and you guys are like unloading something.
Yeah.
And then so you guys are like unloading something, and then Tyler's like, dude, I know that guy. That's Devin Winter. I was like, no way, cool. And I was like so new to this stuff. Like I had no idea. And like I was like, I remember going home being like, dang, I met like two people. Like I know Tyler, now I know Devin. They're doing video stuff. And then we went on that set. Sammy V was shooting photos, and then you had the red that day with Zach Shea and stuff. That was fun, dude. Yeah. It's crazy. Like COVID really opened up a lot of doors. Like that was just a time where like I wasn't focusing on real estate, which was my day job, and I could like go and like do that kind of stuff. I remember being like,
because you're still in between at that time.
Yeah. And I was just trying to like learn everything I could, which was kind of cool. And then I remember actually, then we got lunch, like a couple months later, I'm still working at DRG, and we got lunch, and I remember you showing me like a quote, or like you were showing me like, maybe it wasn't even profit, but you were just like, this is how I run my business. This is where I build up my quotes. And you're like, yeah, like this quote's like 15 grand or something. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I can do this. I know I can do that. And like, it was just like, I guess I didn't really know that there was like that kind of money in it. And then you had mentioned to me like how you kind of go about your business with a very like, you went about the video production stuff with a very business forward mindset, which was like kind of inspired me to like do that same thing. So
nice, dude.
Thanks for all the inspiration, man.
Oh, of course, bro. Likewise. Yeah.
So what are you up to now? We obviously, maybe we should preface the exit first.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So, exited my production company in April, the end of April, after running it for 7 years. So now I'm full-time day trading.
That's crazy.
Which is great. Yeah. So yeah, my days look a lot different now than they used to, for sure. A lot more free time, a lot more time to focus on other things. But yeah, I guess, what do you want to dive into there? Yeah,
I think like first off, 7 years owning the production company. That's insane. And how old are you now?
20, just turned 24. Yeah.
So you started the production company at
17.
17.
Yes.
That's crazy, because I guarantee there's someone watching right now who's like in high school. They want to start their business. Maybe they have this like disbelief in their mind. They're like, I couldn't start a business. I'm too young. I don't have enough money. I need this. But like, you did it at 17, which is insane.
Yeah, and I didn't like intentionally do it at first either. So basically, I bought a camera. And then I made a video every single day for 4 months, I want to say. One a day.
Of yourself or?
Just whatever. Yeah, anything. And was posting them to YouTube, just throwing them out there. It'd be vlogs, it'd be random edits of things, just whatever. Because I was like, probably the quickest way to learn something is just to like commit a little bit of time or a lot of time to it every single day. So I did that for an entire summer break in high school. And then my uncle was working for a company at the time, and he was like, hey, I think they would love some video of their like crane business, like pulling these cranes off of a train or something like that. I can't even remember what it was. And I charged them $100 to come out and film and put together a little edit. I was kind of scared at the time because I was like, I don't know if I want to like turn this into anything like that. But then afterwards I was like, well, it would be kind of cool to turn a hobby into a business and take it from there. So,
well, and it's cool because like, then you do that for 7 years, and like that's part of your identity. And I feel like today it's weird too, because like social media kind of makes you like establish this identity, right? Like you have to put in your bio like, I'm a video creator. You have to like post, and like, but it's insane how you did that for 7 years. Now you've exited that business, and now your identity can be something else. You know, you don't have to be like locked down. So it's interesting that you like fell into it, and then now you're like in this new stage, new wave kind of.
Yeah. And I think like for me, my identity, I never really tied it to videos much, maybe more in the early stages, but especially like the past 4 years, maybe even 5 years, I've tied it more to I'm super passionate about building businesses. It doesn't matter what that business is as much as long as it's solving some sort of problem. And that problem I've been solving for the past 7 years has been providing that service.
Yeah.
So that's why like leaving the business wasn't as emotional as I thought it would be. It's because like there's like I'm passionate about solving problems through business, not necessarily the video as much anymore as I used to be.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because I was just telling Devin today too, Devin, my editor, that like I have fallen out of that like hyper creative mode where I'm like, I want to grab like a 35 millimeter 1.4 and try to make like a crazy reel. Like, I don't know. Do you think that's like a stage? Like, I'm sure you went through that phase where you're just like obsessed with creating, and then you kind of go into this phase where you're more of a business owner, and then now you're in this phase where it's like, how can I create an effective exit?
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone has different time spans for things as well, like how long they can go before they get bored of something, but also new challenges are fun. So like if you kind of get your video skills to where they need to be able to sell those to businesses, then the new challenge is how do you get the businesses to then buy those videos?
Yeah.
And there's just like taking on new challenges is always fun.
Yeah.
And very early on, the challenge for me was learning to make videos, and then it eventually became, how do I make money making videos? It was like a new challenge, completely separate from the actual video creating side itself.
Totally. No, that's I feel like that's very like in line with what where I'm at, right? Like I think it was like, for me, it was like, how do I make videos? Cool, I know how to make a video. How do I like optimize the process? How can I like build a team around this to make sure everything's done really effectively? Like I do pre-production, Devin does filming, I direct, like we all have our specific roles. And now it's like, what videos make the most sense for us?
Yeah.
And we've said no more this year than we ever have. And I think you were a big proponent of, I don't know, you were just like someone who I knew that would say no a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like you would say no to a lot.
Yeah, and you should get said no to a lot as well. Like, I posted something, when I announced the exit, just around like, or someone had asked a question, because I put up like a poll thing where people could ask questions, and someone asked for advice, and like the biggest thing was just like, your win rate should be less than 50% on everything. And if it's higher than that, I believe you're undervaluing your services. And that was a huge mistake I made early on. And that's a huge mistake most creative businesses make, is they think they have to win every single project. And because of that, they don't have the margins that are sustainable to run a business. And they're constantly in that starving artist zone of things. Yeah.
And then also, I always think of it this way. Let me know if you think of it this way. But like, I also think like, are those creatives that are underbidding to win jobs, are they driving the whole market down? Like, does the value of a video go from 5,000 to 4,000 to 3, and then all of a sudden no one can survive because the bar and the average quote is so much lower because everyone's trying to get that project? Yeah,
I mean, 100%. If people are willing to do it for cheap, it will bring the value down. And we would always go up against like much lower bids, and sometimes we would lose them to those, but sometimes we would win even though we were much higher priced.
Yeah.
And it's really like, companies aren't always just going to go for the cheapest, because in fact, they're almost never going to go for the cheapest. They're going to go somewhere in the middle. And it's because the cheapest is probably the cheapest for a reason, but they're not willing to spend on the most expensive. So they're probably going to end up somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I think there's other forms of value you can bring to be able to price your work higher. And for me personally, if you're having to price yourself super low to win every single bid, it means you have a lead gen problem.
Yeah.
Like I've always said that. So I think about this, like if you had 100 leads, every month, right? Like your price would go up dramatically because, supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So you would only need 4% to say yes. So your price can go up a lot. Where if you have 2 leads every month, you need both of those to go through just to pay your rent and your team and your overhead on your business.
Yeah.
So it's almost not as much a pricing problem. It's a lead gen problem.
Yeah. I also think there's 3. I love that point because we've always been pro lead gen, try to find as many leads as possible. And that's really allowed us to kind of push to the next level. But I always think of it as there's 3 reasons someone will work with you on a video. You either have a really competitive price and you're within their budget. You have the exact style and a concrete example that like is exactly what they're looking for. Or 3, your process is so easy and seamless that a marketing team who's working 8 to 5, they just want their job to be easy. And they're like, if we go with Bloom or we go with whoever, like they have that like straightforward, linear, like we don't have to put a ton of time into this. We don't have to spend a bunch of time scripting. So I always think that if you have 2 of those, you're probably going to win the project.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm always just like, I can almost feel if we're going to win a project. If they're like, we want this video, and I know I have like video in my back pocket that we made in the past that's exactly what they're looking for, and I know how to produce it, and I can give them step-by-step stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost 100%.
For sure.
But yeah, I wanted to change gears a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really good wisdom, but I wanted to I think like you're very inspiring in the term or in like the realm of entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
You have a lot of insight. You're very motivated. It seems like you're very organized and very intentional with basically everything you do. So I have these rapid fire. This is a little segment we're going to try here with Devin. So I have this rapid fire questions. I want to just kind of go through them. I won't elaborate at all.
Okay.
When you're done talking, I'm jumping right into the next
Sounds
question.
Good.
So
let's do it.
I think I already asked this one, but how old were you when you started your first business?
17 years old.
What is the most influential book that shaped your entrepreneurial mindset?
The Go-Giver.
Interesting. What's one piece of advice you wish you had received before starting your first company?
Shoot, what was I going to say for this one? Piece of advice. Focus on the process and build backwards from there.
Ooh, that's a good one. What's the biggest lesson you learned from a business failure?
Very early on, just don't forget about taxes, for sure.
I can attest that one.
Yeah.
What's your go-to source of staying up to date with the latest industry trends?
Morning Brew and Twitter.
Cool.
Yeah.
The most rewarding moment in your entrepreneurial career so far?
The recent exit, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's why you're here, man.
Yeah.
What's your most favorite productivity hack?
You saw it earlier. I have 2 phones, so I've no social media or distractions on my main phone. That's all on my second phone, which can only be used certain times of the day. So
that's structure right there. What's the first thing you do every morning to set the tone for your day?
I go on our back deck at our house and just like take in the sun, read a book, have some coffee. It's 6:30 a.m. So
really,
yeah.
That's elaborating on that last one. I love that. I have like a time in my morning, like a 30-minute period, where I just call it like putz around period, and I literally just like go around my house and just do dumb things. Windex like the TV. This morning I was like Windexing the TV, wiping it down, and I'm just like, it's almost like therapeutic to just start your day just like putzing around.
Yeah.
And I actually learned that from Jeff Bezos. He has like an hour in the morning of his day where he just like has coffee, reads the paper, floats around the house. I don't know, whatever.
I'll have to try that one because we don't dust our TV too often.
I'm just saying, like, that's an example. Today I was
great.
like, the sun was shining in. I looked at it. I'm like, there's fingerprints all over the TV. I think we moved and like it was like we were touching it a lot.
Yeah.
And, like I'm just like, I'm gonna wipe that thing down.
No, that's good. I like that.
And it's just like, but that's interesting because, you know, same thing. Like you step out on the deck and you just chill out and
sun.
Take a breath.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say ice
too.
bath.
I saw some like study about like getting sun in the morning too is supposed to help. So that's why I kind of started.
You are looking tan, by the way.
Hey, thanks.
You've definitely been getting a lot of sun.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah, dude, you have been golfing. How has that been? I feel like you kind of maybe just got into that.
Yeah, in April. Yeah.
Yeah.
first year golfer.
First
I
year.
really want to talk about it right now, though. I'm kind of in a slump. So
Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was your first year golfing because I saw your story, no glove at first.
Yep.
And then I've been tracking. I'm like, okay. Then I saw you had the glove and you're like playing the nicer courses now. I'm like, okay, Devin's getting into it.
Yeah, we got to go sometime.
Yeah, we definitely should. So I want to kind of dive in now. Now we can kind of get into like the bulk of the podcast. These are really like questions that I thought you could provide some insight to, again, for that person who's listening that wants to become an entrepreneur, wants to start a business, wants to unite people. And yeah, so how did you discover your passion and identify potential business ideas like early on? Because this was always a struggle for me, is like not knowing what to start.
Yeah. So I suppose like, you know, when I started Into Motion, it's kind of different. I was so young that I wasn't really aware that I was even like solving a problem or bringing a need to the market. But like how I identify business ideas now, which I think would probably be like bring more value to people watching, is listening for problems in the marketplace.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
I think you actually told me that. You've told me
really?
that. Yeah, before when we played pool at.
I mean, just talk to like other entrepreneurs or other people that own businesses or other people that just work for companies and like try to figure out what problems they deal with every single day and then figure out how much they'd be willing to spend to have that problem disappear.
Yeah.
And then figure out if there's other people that deal with that same problem.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I even question my client, like when a client calls me and they're like, hey, we want to make a recruiting video. My first question is like, why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to make a recruiting video? You know, are we sure that's what? And I even challenge my clients, like they may think they need value in this specific area, but through further investigation and 10 whys, asking why, you dig deeper and you're like, okay, maybe you have like a turnover problem and you actually need videos training people in so they can hit the ground running and they aren't confused. You know, and it's crazy. You can provide value in so many ways just by asking why.
Yeah. And it's great for your business too, because like, you know, this, it's very rare one video solves a whole problem. It often takes a like stream of videos to solve a problem.
100%.
You know, where I feel like early on I was always selling like whatever they wanted. Oh, you want the About Us video? That's it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Where in the end it was like, okay, they came to us for an About Us video. By the end, they were leaving with 14 different videos and got way better results because of that, which was a win-win for everyone, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can like, and I'm like not ashamed to say it, but sometimes you can feel when like the client may not get a ton of value out of your video, you know, like maybe they're making this video and it's going to live on the website for 10 years. So the value will come, but like the immediate feel, you're like, okay, they're spending a bunch of money on this and they might not get a ton of value from it. But then I ask myself, like, how can I provide more value? Okay, cool. We made this video on this like one service you add. It's on one page of your website. Hopefully it sells, you know, some stuff, but we're going to chop it up into 3 reels too. And we're going to include those in the deliverables. So at least you have something to post on social on top of just like this one video that's going to sit on your website. So it's kind of interesting. You can provide value and maybe even like help solve more problems just by increasing a few deliverables, and you can charge more.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if they spend $20,000 on a video campaign and make 80, they're going to come to you a lot.
Yeah.
And that's how I always looked at it. Like they're going to come to you every quarter, every month, whatever it takes to make that happen even more. If they spend $20,000 on a video and it literally gets 12 views hidden on some back page of their website. Yeah. They're a one-time client. They're never going to come back to you, and they didn't get the value that that video could have provided if things were done differently, you know. Exactly.
And that's where I think the reels help, because you're like, okay, maybe that video didn't get a ton of views, but like you posted this reel and that got like 2,000 views and a bunch of comments, and you probably got some followers off of it. Like at least that's a little value, like a little cherry on top, you know, for the client. So kind of interesting. And then you obviously have the trading stuff too. Are you still doing the coaching training?
No, that got shut down probably like a year and a half ago at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, you know, I've been trading for 6 years now, over 6 years personally.
Yeah.
and it's a huge passion of mine. I love doing it. I'm obsessed with it. And getting other people to have that same passion is really
tough. Yeah. Yeah. I found that too with like subbing people in for projects or anything that like we do. It's like, I can't make you do anything. So if you're not going to like you're probably teaching these kids the right things. And if they're not applying it, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hated having people pay $20 a month for something they weren't fully using.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I was like, you know, maybe one day I could bring it back. Mm-hmm. But I mean, realistically, to grow that business, you'd have to have like a following in that space and to be putting out a lot of different content.
100%.
So yeah.
No, that's cool. What strategies do you use to validate whether an idea has a real market potential? And I think you maybe already answered this a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just talking with people in that space, and then how much would they sell or pay to have that problem disappear, and then validating it through multiple sources. Mm-hmm. Like talking to one person you know in that space, having them connect you with other people in that space, and then talking with all of them, and then just figuring, like, because you don't want to start a business where there isn't a market for it. So
yeah, it's near impossible.
Yeah, it just wouldn't work
without a market. But if you have like 4 business owners that are like, yeah, we have that same problem. Yeah, we have that same problem, and you know how to solve it. Mm-hmm. That's just the simplest way.
Yeah, of course.
And then like this, everything should just fall in your lap from there. Mm-hmm. Like, it's crazy. There's some businesses out there that are just like, well, a good example is my dad owns a landscaping company, and he's just like, there hasn't been a new landscaping company come to the market in like 10 years. Like, I am just like, he's like, it's just me versus the same 10 people still. Mm-hmm. And he's doing like big backyards, pools, stuff like that. But he's just like, it's so easy, you know, it's like, it's crazy. There's just like, you're solving a problem for someone and there's no competition.
Yeah.
So that's one thing too, I think people overlook, you know, a lot of times people will run towards this market that has, you know, I always use like e-commerce as one of them. And I have like a bunch of very successful e-commerce clients and stuff like that. But like e-commerce looks so glamorous that like everyone's running to it, you know, but if you're like, what if you started like a logistics, like a less sexy, like logistics service-based business, and like you could probably get a ton of clients and scale that way faster than like an e-commerce business because there's way less competition.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of unglamorous businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
like the dirtier it gets, the more money there is in it.
I know. It's because, well, same thing, right? Like there's less people that supply that service or that product because it is unglamorous, which means the value in that market goes up because few people provide that solution or that product, right?
Yeah, and it's even funny. We pride ourselves on like never doing weddings.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is good or bad to say, but like when we get a wedding quote, we quote it significantly higher. You know, it's like, okay, if we're gonna do this wedding, we're gonna do it right. I'm gonna bring in a ton of people and we're gonna make it insane. But Isaac's redoing his condo right now.
Yeah.
And he has to he's getting quotes on like cabinets and floors, and he's like, calls me one day and he's all hot and he's like, dude, these guys are quoting my condo stuff like you quote weddings. Like they just don't want to come to the condo. They just want to go to a house. You know, there's like nowhere to park. You know, contractors, like there's nowhere to park. They're kind of like stressed out. They got to bring everything up through an elevator.
They have plenty of work elsewhere because they're contractors and they're all booked.
And I was like, that's so true. It's like interesting. Like that's even a niche too. Like what if you're like a cabinet installer for condos and you're like willing to deal with the parking and logistical.
I didn't even think about that. Like hauling cabinets up an elevator. Like, not fun.
It's crazy. We work with a company called Streeter. They're a custom home builder. And they did this like crazy renovation on Millimane. Yeah, crazy. Dude, the video got like 70,000 views for them, which was crazy.
That's awesome.
But like they had to close down the road, get permits with the city, and like put metal through the window because it wouldn't fit, these like big metal beams through the window for like 2 days, and they like had to hit this timeline and stuff. I'm like, that's crazy, you know? It's like a lot of logistical stuff that goes into that. You can't put everything up an elevator.
No.
So it's kind of crazy. But what else do I have here for you? Maybe we could elaborate a little bit more on that like failure that you encountered in your entrepreneurial journey and how you learned from it. And maybe I could share one too. Let me
tax
ponder.
failure?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I mean, basically, so the first major year in my business, I moved down here, and every dollar I made just went to like pay my rent and like because I wasn't making much. I was like 18 years old. The first 3 years of my business were very much so just like those were my years of learning and figuring out what the heck I was even doing. So I just didn't put money aside for taxes. And then it came to that point where, oh, I got an accountant. She's like, you owe this much.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's more than what I even have.
Yeah.
So, in hindsight, it was like probably one of the greatest things that's happened to me, simply because it put my back up against the wall even more than it already was in many ways.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have like, it was like 3 weeks to figure out how to get that money to pay the tax bill.
Yeah.
So I just like, kind of just went out to like every single networking event in the city and just like started selling video services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when your back's up against the wall, you make it happen. Same thing when I went full time with Bloom, dude. I was like, that was the last thing Joe said to me at DRG when I was leaving. He was like, dude, don't worry at all. If your back's against the wall, you're going to find a way to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like
if you're a hard worker yourself, and you'll figure it out. Like,
yeah. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of like a failure that I had. I feel like, I guess from the outside looking in, it was probably like not a failure, but I remember we did this shoot for a fitness brand early on, and I just remember quoting it like so low.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really know, like now I look at like a product video and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much pre-production. I think I quoted like $100 pre-production.
Yeah.
And like took $500 editing, and I literally like, I just remember they paid me up front. We went, shot the video, did everything, and I'm just like barely scraping by.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, like, after that, like the photographer who I subbed in sent me an invoice, and the 3 models are like, hey, where's my money? And I was like, wow, I got paid on this like 2 months ago. It took me 2 months to finish this project. I'm like way overextended. I put so many hours into this. I'm like managing everything. And at the end of the day, I think I for sure lost money on that project. And I think that was like, it was a failure for me because I was in a space that I didn't know what I was doing. Like I had never done any product stuff before. I underquoted it. I didn't consult with anyone. Like it would have probably been worth it for me to give you a call and be like, hey, Devin, how much should I quote this? What should I, but you're like I was like, I needed the project so bad. I wanted this project so bad that I was like, I can't let anyone else know about this. Like, like they're going to want the project. And really it's not even like that. I think like if you have good established relationships with people, you can reach out, give them a call. And I'm sure you wouldn't have like jumped on the project.
No,
like,
of course not. Yeah.
So it's like,
of course not.
It's just interesting. Like just having that humility and that like that humility of just like calling you and being like, dude, I don't know what I don't know. Like this is my first time getting a project like this. I'm super excited about it, but I don't want to burn myself. And I definitely just burned myself on that. Almost like burnt myself out too. I remember being like, just thinking it was the hardest thing ever to like get it done and make the client happy. And I just, every hour I spent felt like it was just ticking away.
Man.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Yeah. I mean, everyone's got to lose money on a project at some point, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully it just doesn't happen again.
That's true. That's true. And there's probably even a better failure in there, but that was just the first one that came to mind.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard early on because you don't realize all that stuff just costs money. And you should leave room for error. And like that's something I never knew either. Like, oh, you have models and they're being paid $1,000 a day. Well, you should make sure you have 10% on top of that just for even like room for error.
And that was the thing for me. Like, I think it was like a $3,500 budget. And I was like, this is a huge budget. I have all this money to work with. And it's like, so then I'm just like super generous with like the photographer and the models. Oh, I'll pay you, $700, $500, like pretty substantial numbers that eat away at the budget real quick. Like when you're paying 4 models, $500 a piece and it's $2,000 and the
Gone.
budget's 35, it's like, that's half the budget gone.
Yep.
So it's like, it's crazy. That's like one thing definitely like up here you just had to figure out and learn from. And it's hard because you can't leave the client hanging.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's easy in those situations to be like, whatever, I'm just going to like, but you have to leave the customer happy. Like, even if it costs you money.
I remember I took on like this animation project for a client that we had done work for previously. And I took on this animation project. It was probably like 2019. And I'd never done like any animation stuff ever, or even like sold that service. But I was like, oh, I could hire someone to do it and then, you know, deliver it to the client and just be like of service to them. Like, they need this done. They don't want to find someone.
You can speak the lingo. You can effectively get everything. Yeah.
So we did it and I delivered it to her and she was just like, this isn't what I wanted at all. Like, zero.
Oh, gosh.
And I paid $2,000 for the animation to be done. And I was like, well, I'll just I refunded her everything and just bit the bullet on the $2,000. That was a long time ago, again, early on in the business, where that meant a lot, like, to take that $2,000 hit. And then it was like probably a year later, she was like referring me business to like multiple different people.
Really?
And I ended up like landing some stuff. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, oh, this is why you like always do the right thing. Because if I didn't refund her and I was just like, nope, screw it, like, you still have to pay this and that, and there's kind of left that bad taste in her mouth, I would have never gotten the even bigger projects that she referred later. But because I made things right, she was like, well, you know, I didn't like that, but it wasn't his fault necessarily. He still like made it right in the end, you know.
That's super powerful. Yeah, dude, that's a great story, really. Everyone's taken on those, like, I think it's funny because like middlemaning projects sounds awesome and easy, and it's almost always such a headache. I like tried to do it for a little bit, and now I'm just like, just talk to this guy. Just like, I'll just send it over. And obviously it kind of depends on what your business model and structure is. I know people that are amazing at outsourcing, but it's just so much communication. And really, if anything's miscommunicated, it's like your fault. Yeah. So you really have to be aligned on like, these are the expectations. This is what this person can deliver. These are examples. This is like, you really need to have concrete stuff set in place. Yeah. So.
And good contractors to work with.
Yeah, really good contractors. So I know this is a big one for you, work-life balance. I know that you're kind of the type of guy that like, I feel like you like to be off the grid a little bit. So tell me how you maintain that like work-life balance, because I'll see you up at the cabin on like a Thursday and I'll be like, dang, I still got like 2 more shoots this week.
Yeah, I mean, early on there was none. Like the first 3 to 4 years was like just work. And I'm kind of like an all or nothing guy. Like if I'm focused on something, that's all I'm focused on. And I'm all in on it. And then there's other phases of my life where it'll be more chill. So yeah, early on, I didn't have the best work-life balance. And I think it was just because I didn't know how to work. It wasn't efficient. And I didn't know how to manage time. So I probably wasted a lot of time, which meant I had to work 80-hour weeks because I didn't know how to manage my time. Yeah. Work-life balance, I got better at it when Tia and I started dating. I was like, well, now I have to be good at it or else this isn't going to work. Because you can't work all the time and be in a relationship for a long period of time, right? It's just not going to work. So that kind of forced me to like figure out ways to be more efficient and figure out better ways to just like make the process simpler of working with clients to just save time. And the hardest part about work-life balance for me has always been I have multiple things going on. It was never just video. So it was trading in the morning, working on the production company during the day, and then any extra time, you know, I'd movement culture and 6th floor as well during a period there. So it was like any extra time would just go
you had like 4 things going at once.
Yeah, which I'm glad, like, no more 6th floor and just open up some more time. So that's one thing I did was just like eliminated some of those tasks. Switching gears is
I mean, obviously you were doing a lot of it, but switching gears for me was tough.
Yeah.
When I was working multiple jobs, going to college, all that stuff, it's tough. Was there a turning point when you realized like, oh, if I do this, I can manage my time better?
So there was a point where we moved into an office. That was huge, because it took my work out of my home, which I'm sure, obviously, you have this space, right? Like this is where you work. Home is where you.
I'm like an 8 to 5 guy now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. When I'm home, my computer stays in my backpack.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So once we got the office, I was like, it was basically like, okay, how fast can I finish all this? And I'll just get out of here. Yeah. Just finish it and move on. And it wasn't as much like, I don't know. I feel like early on too, I probably had like ego around how much I worked, and I kind of took pride in like how many hours I worked.
That's me to a T, dude.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I was like, for me, it's a way bigger flex to like have to work way less hours and make more, because time is a greater asset than money. So why would you flex the fact that you have no time alongside with the finances?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And for me, it was like, I went from this job where I was making like $4,000 a month as an assistant. And then like the first year out, I put in double the amount of time, but I made double the money.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking like, this is way worth it. Like,
yeah.
I was just like, I needed that like money. And if working double meant, so like, I feel like for me, like my first year, I was like jaded on it a little bit. Like I was just like, well, I'm working way more hours, but I'm making way more. So it's like totally worth it. And I was just like so wrapped up in that. But then now I've scaled it way back, but same thing, dude. I was like, I remember editing till like 2 a.m. and then having to shoot at like 10 a.m. the next day, and like having to get up and get there. And like, I remember just not minding it though.
Yeah.
At all. Cause I think like I just had never seen checks like that come in.
Yeah. You're just like running on that high. Was there a certain moment for you where you're like, I don't want to work 24/7?
I think the moment for me was when I would say maybe when Devin came on, because I was like, I realized like my role, I remember it was like, it took a while, because I would like finish a project, I'd still like put everything in Premiere, or like Devin would edit it and I would like get over his shoulder and we'd like edit it together a little bit. And I like couldn't let go of that process. I couldn't let go of like not being the editor as well. And then I realized like one day I like met with this SEO company and I did some SEO stuff. I strategized some social stuff. I quoted a few clients, had a few sales calls. I'm like, this is what I should be doing. Like that is my strength. Editing isn't my strength. Like Devin across the desk for me is like a way better editor than I am. So why don't I just trust him? And from that point forward, I said, when you're finished with a video, send it to the client. Like, I don't even want to see it. And I just like have full faith in him. I think that was a turning point where I was like, I don't need to work. Cause you end up doing so much. Like when you're a solopreneur, you're the finance, you're the sales, you're the customer service, you're the editor, the shooter, like, and once you like delegate those things, you can then elevate and you're like playing to your strengths. Just, I don't know. I think that was the moment. Yeah. Like getting the studio, having Devin, and yeah. But I did take a lot of pride in working because I was just so enamored with like the money. But even aside from the money, like the whole creativity of like, I'm getting better at like color grading. I'm getting better at storytelling. And I remember just like riding that high for so long.
Yeah, and there's phases in life too. Like some phases you're going to work a lot for this year, for these few years. And then other phases you might be able to chill more, and like that's totally fine. Like if I start another business, I'm just going to accept the fact I might have to go back to like that early stage grind.
Exactly.
Right? And I look forward to that. That was like some of the most fun times in my business. Like you were saying with you too, like you didn't mind staying up late working on stuff and then having to wake up early for a shoot. It was fun, but not forever, right?
Yeah. Not forever. I think, well, you slowly optimize, right? Like you say, like the start, you're like learning so much, you're pushing, and you need to put in those hours. And then once you start to figure it out, you're like, oh, I can optimize this by just turning this switch here. And then I can sub this out and turn this switch here. And then all of a sudden, after a year or two, you're really just flipping switches and really optimizing things. But yeah, it's funny because we had a slow month in the winter. I think it was like actually January. Like we went through the whole Christmas slow part, and you know, I was at a point where I was like only a couple months into having a payroll and stuff like that. So I was really focusing on managing money. And I remember I came into the studio one day and it was like, I want to say it was like the coldest day of the year. It was like -12. And it was like kind of cold in here. It's kind of like a dungeony thing. It was like dark out. And I'm like, the best part is that if the bank account goes to zero, no one will outwork me, and I'll make sure that this company survives.
For sure.
Like if it came down to it and we were in a tough spot and I had to like literally sleep here and live here, like you best believe I'd be doing that.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not too worried.
Yeah.
Just because I believe in myself.
Yeah.
And I think
you had your back up against the wall before and made it out. Why couldn't you do it again? Right.
That's part of being an entrepreneur. You know,
Yeah.
I think like the entrepreneurs know, like if they need to work, like Elon Musk, like all these big entrepreneurs, like if it came down to it, they'd be sleeping at the office.
Yeah.
If it came down to it, Elon would be on the assembly line for Tesla. Like they'll do anything.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. The work-life balance stuff is good. I think that's something that people talk about, but don't really go in depth. So
there's no one, I'll say this too, before we close out on that subject, but like, there's no like one way to do things either. Like the way I like working 100 hours a week, like Elon working 120 hours a week is really good for him, but not for everyone.
Yeah.
Like the other guy should only work 20 hours a week because he's way happier doing that and like chilling and doing other things besides work. So I think people need to kind of figure out what they're most happy doing and like go with that and not feel the pressure to work more or less based on outside pressure. Like the whole concept of shaming someone because they work too much or too little is just lame to me, because people can do whatever they want and people are going to find joy and happiness working different amounts. So
it took me a while to figure that out, because I'm wired a certain way, and then I build a team and I'm starting to realize like, oh, this team member is wired this way, you know. This person's not a morning person, but he'll be on till 7 p.m. You know, like it doesn't really matter. And that's why we've really chatted a lot about it here, is just running like an objective based kind of like business. Like I don't care how many hours you work, but at the beginning of the week, we're going to set these objectives to get done. As long as those are done, like, I don't really care. So that's super powerful. And like just understanding that not everyone thinks like not everyone wants to work as long or as hard as me. So like that's totally fine. Yeah. You know, and so that's a good point to close it out. You've built a bunch of brands. I think my personal favorite of the brands that you've built is Movement Culture. Obviously you have the extremely talented Jeff Bull in your corner on that one. He's just a beast.
I know.
But how do you build a strong brand identity that resonates with customers? I'm such a heavy brand guy. Like I think I can attribute a lot of Bloom's success to being like branding and just like the way we look. So tell me about that. How do you build a brand that resonates with people?
Yeah. So Movement Culture, I guess we could use that more as an example, and I'm going to kind of speak for Jeff because this was more his kind of cup of tea. Yeah. Well, it's all of our baby, but like he's the brand guy and he's so good at that.
Oh my God. The visuals and stuff, dude.
I know. Unreal.
Yeah.
So like we want to bring a playful side to a not so playful world, entrepreneurship. It can be like a dark, kind of scary to get into, like the people are intimidating, right? All this stuff. Like, so we brought these wild colors, these animations, these fun videos, these events with fun music and fun topics, and made like this super welcoming space with the goal of people not being afraid to enter the room, even if they were, whether they were, you know, had built many businesses and have massive amounts of success, or they haven't even built a business yet, but they're curious about and want to potentially start their own business. Yeah. So like creating that space where everyone feels comfortable in the same room and it doesn't feel like this intimidating thing.
And that's what I love. And after I say this, I want you to actually explain to the people what movement culture is, because I think it's honestly one of the better. I've been to every single movement culture. I will continue to go to every single movement culture. I love it so much because it is that approachable environment, and it's crazy because everyone's there. Like, I will go up to someone and they will be like at a very high level. They'll be telling, giving me pointers on how to run my business. And then I'll turn around and talk to someone else and they'll be like just starting their first business. And I can then give them advice because I'm at a level where, maybe I'm 2 years in front of them in terms of like what they're trying to do. So I'm like, I'm getting advice and giving advice kind of in the same room. And it's kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah. It's a good time. And it's, you saying that motivates me to want to we have a call this week, I know, but we got to do another one because it's been a while since we've done the last event.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that idea, I like I said earlier, I went to a lot of networking events, early on in my business to try to get work. Right. And they always felt so transactional. It always felt like, oh, I'll give you some referrals or whatever, some business if you like kind of hook it up for me and, throw some business my way. And I always knew that was just like never a way business should operate. Yeah. Like, it shouldn't be transactional like that. It should be natural. Like, if I feel you're the best for the job, I will refer you. But if I don't, I'm not gonna. Even if you give me referrals, I'm not going to refer you. Like, if I don't think you're the best, it's not going to happen. So we wanted to like create that fun environment where if we even saw people like aggressively handing out business cards, we'd like go up to them and like, what are you doing here? Like, it's not what this is about. Like, it's more of a space you can go to learn and create friendships in the entrepreneurship community than try to like build your book of business. Yeah,
it's been a great thing, or a great place, I think, for specifically me, just to like see faces. Like, we live in such like a social media heavy environment, and I talk about it on every podcast. Like, I'm pro social media. Like, I actually really enjoy it, and I think I see a lot of faces on social media, and I can see what people are up to, and then I see them at the event, and I've never met them before, but it allows me to like go up and talk to them. But it isn't transactional at all, really. It's more like advice, and I guess it's also just like a big social happy hour, kind of feels like.
There's music bumping, like there's a bar there, great drinks.
My favorite moment at Movement Culture was like that guy with the bees, the Save the Bees guy.
Yeah,
he went up there, dude, and he just like, it was like this event, this Shark Tank event that they had at Movement Culture, and I knew we had watched like 2 or 3 presentations before, and then he runs up there and he's got like hats. He's throwing hats and t-shirt out, and everyone's freaking out and they're chanting "Save the Bees" and stuff. And I was like, that guy's for sure gonna win. Just right when I saw him throw the first t-shirt, I was like, yeah, he's got this in the bag. And then he got the $1,000 check.
$1,000 check, the big check.
Yeah.
That thing was great. I'm so glad we got that thing. That big ass check.
That was crazy. How do you even get one of those?
Online, dude.
You just order
We were like gonna just give him cash, and then I was like, it would be so funny to have a massive Movement Culture check, and it's $1,000 on there, like just for the photo op, and
it's so good.
We came running out with that thing, like, that was like one of the best nights ever. That was so much fun.
It was a big turnout too that night.
Like 200 some people, like 200 people I want to say on that one.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, but yeah, kind of going back on the brand though, I think like the brand has allowed people to resonate and see it, and it's so distinct. Like, if you say Movement Culture, I've ran into people, I'm like, I'm going to Movement Culture, like, what's Movement Culture? Then I show them the Instagram, like, oh, I've seen this before. Nice. And I've heard that about Bloom too, where people are like, what's Bloom? And then I like send them our Instagram or show them our website or something, like, oh, I have seen this, I think I have seen this logo before. So it's interesting, like, if you do it the right way and you have a brand with kind of it doesn't even have to be that timeless, but just like a timeless look or a timeless kind of name, or like intention behind that, like a story behind it. That's amazing. And then I think like a biggest thing, a lot of branding, I even know like branding agencies that kind of miss this. It's like, what is like the messaging? Like, what do you exist to do? And like for us, we've kind of come up with this over the past few months, like Bloom exists to give your brand a voice. And like we realize there's so many amazing brands out there. They have amazing products, great logos, great everything, but they just have no voice. And that's what the videos are doing. So like that mission statement, I think, is like something that people can resonate with.
Yeah, I like that.
And I mentioned our Streeter, the company, the home builder company that we work with. Their mission is to craft utopia. It sounds so like nuts, but like really they are dealing with like a high level of clientele that's like, what is the perfect day for you? Because your budget doesn't even matter. Like, what is the perfect day for you? And they build the house around that perfect day.
Wow.
Like
their stuff is unreal.
Yeah. And when you're in the houses, you can feel it too. It's just really, really polished. But yeah, I think like branding is one of those things that I've said it before on this podcast, and I feel like I've done enough episodes where I'm starting to say the same things over and over. But like branding is one of those things that I think you should spend twice as much time on the front end as you think. Because nothing's worse than like launching a brand and then like 6 months later doing a rebrand because you're like, wow, I didn't put enough time into like, or thought into like what we were doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's really so important. I didn't value it as much early on at all. I always thought like you just get a logo and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, having even just a consistent look and then something that resonates with people is so key. Something that stands out too and you feel drawn to for some sort of way. Yeah.
And I feel like you'll know it too. Like I've had done so many branding projects from my first company, Pure Pleasure Pools.
I don't even know about this.
Pure Pleasure Pools, dude. No, I had this company, Pure Pleasure Pools, and we had a pool growing up, and there was this pool cleaner in the backyard all the time, and I would clean our pool, and I'm like, how hard would it be to clean other people's pools? Truck back there. How hard would it be to clean other people's pools? So I just took our pool cleaner from the house, charged $50 an hour in high school, 16. I think I got my license. Just buzz around and do pools. And I remember like my friends would work all week for like a $350 check, and I'd be like, dude, I just cleaned one pool today. I made $350.
Dude,
you know, it's crazy.
There's this kid on our street right now selling lemonade.
Yeah.
And okay, so Tia and I are driving by. He's been there for like a couple days. I'm like, this kid's like getting after. I'm like, we gotta stop. Buy some lemonade. Go up to him. He's probably like 8 years old, right?
Yeah. And
I'm like, we'll take 2 lemonades. Like, sounds good. He's like, that'll be $4. We hand him a 20, keep the change. And he does not look surprised at all. And I'm like, we're not the only ones handing this kid like way more money for this lemonade than what he's charging.
Yeah.
I'm like, how many days you been out here? He's like, 4. I'm like, what are you saving up for? He's like, a new bike. I'm like, how much have you made so far? He's like, over $500.
Wow.
And I'm like, dang, this kid's making like $100 some bucks a day selling lemonade on the side of the street. And I'm like, it's so wild.
It's so wild, but it's also like people want to be part of that story. People love that story. Like you can see that kid's a young entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He's starting the stereotypical young kid business, the lemonade stand. But like the fact that you want to like motivate him, you want to give him that $20. You want him to someday be on a podcast just like this and be saying how he made this lemonade stand when he was a kid. Like it's cool. People want to be part of it. And, you know, I think that's impressive, man. He's probably crushing it.
Oh yeah. It's super cool. Just like your pool business, like same deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like people wanted to,
they want to support you when you're young. They want to support the young because especially other entrepreneurs, they see themselves in you and they want to support what you're doing, you know?
That's what my mentor, first thing he told me, I was like, I don't know if I can start this, whatever. I'm only 19. Like, how am I going to start? He's like, dude, that's your biggest superpower. Like 100%. People like age is like the biggest superpower. Like as I'm getting into like my mid 20s, I'm like, oh, I can't really trade on my age.
Isaac and I talked about that once too. I feel like, yeah. But yeah, using
Isaac and I had the same mentor. So that was definitely something that we both were told.
Yeah. It's super interesting. Yeah. I used to think it was like a downfall early on. Cause 17 years old, like going in, trying to quote projects, this and that. It's like super just like insecure about my age, I suppose. Yeah. And like that I didn't have the experience. Then one day the light switched and I was like, this could be my biggest advantage because people want to support. First of all, we're selling to other business owners most of the time. They want to support the 17, 18, 19-year-old kid that is trying to start a business. Yeah. It's very obvious, right?
Yeah. And I also think that like, well, for instance, the video business, and I think a lot of like tech forward kind of things, like tech forward in the sense of like social media, anything to do with like video creation, editing, a lot of things that old people are like, I could never do that. I remember being like 21 and quoting a video project to a very large real estate firm. And this guy, I was sitting in his office, big office, clearly done extremely well for himself. And he, at age like 55, 60, was looking at me like I was the expert Albert Einstein of, he just couldn't believe that I even knew how to operate a camera, you know? And it's just like, he probably automatically associated my skill level with my age, because he probably doesn't know a lot of 6-year-olds that are doing video production and creating social content, you know? And I just happened to be in an industry where I was the expert just by default, you know, in his brain. Even though I probably didn't know as much as I know now. So kind of insane. Yeah, there's certain industries where you'll get that like that extra boost almost because you're young.
Absolutely.
Like name a social media manager that's like over 40.
Anything modern day, like new thing. Yeah, 100%. You're correct on
that. Cool. Well, I think we're getting close to wrapping up here, but I wanted to say, you know, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the exit. At what stage of your company's growth did you consider starting the exit?
Yeah, so I didn't even consider it until mid last year.
Really?
So, yeah, almost a year ago at this point. And because I don't think I knew it was possible to even sell a video production company.
I think that was like the kind of like my first thought too when I saw your Instagram post. I was like, wait, you can sell a production company?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really opened up my mind to like, if you have anything, there's some sort of value that can be put on it, right? Like someone would buy your business for something, even if it's like a tiny business that you just started, like it's worth something to someone.
Yeah.
Right. So
when you have assets as a production company too,
you have assets, but you have clients, and it's a very competitive space. So yeah, I think like that's what people and other companies want. Like we got acquired by another video production company. So it's like very easy for them to take our clients, plug and play, put them into their process and systems. You know, we obviously vented them first. Like I went through and was like, you know, I want to know who these people are. I want to know, are they a good fit, this and that. I want to see the work they produce. And I want to know, like we did shoots together and like made sure everything was good, and then made sure that they're going to be a success with our clients.
Yeah. And is that how you kind of navigated the idea of like, okay, you sold into motion media, but your client might still want Devin?
Yeah. So
because how does that, because that would be a conflict for me. I feel like
it was very tough. Many sleepless nights, first of all, like, so I got, this company, that Stringline that bought us out, approached us in January, and we closed the deal end of April. So like over 4 months of just negotiation and just like figuring things out. Right. And man, I was like not sleeping at night, because I was like, is this a good decision? Am I doing the right thing here? And I came to a conclusion. It was like, okay, there's 3 parties in this deal. There's me, there's Stringline, and there's our clients. And I was like, I need to make sure that everyone feels like they won at the end of this deal. Yep. I don't want anyone to feel shorthanded. So I need to feel like, you know, I feel compensated for the business I built. I need to feel like Stringline feels like they purchased a business and it's going to allow them to expand their business and come out ahead. And I need the clients to feel that they're put into even better hands than they were in before. And every single client was, you know, happy for me and went with Stringline. And they're working together now, and they're actively doing projects, and they're super happy with everything. So it's been cool to see. And they even had mentioned like, Devin, we trust you. We trust you wouldn't put us in bad hands, which was super cool to hear.
Yeah. And that's just that long-term relationship. I know some of your clients, like you've been working with them for years, man. And like, if you have a long-term relationship and you know, and you truly believe that you're putting them in better hands, I guess, yeah, that's probably the best way to navigate it.
Yeah. I told them, clients too, I'm like, these guys have a team, like a larger team, they're going to be able to manage your projects better.
Turnaround times might be faster.
They got like 100 times more equipment.
Yeah.
Like crazy equipment.
Yeah.
And their prices are the same. That was another big thing is I didn't want like, oh, all of a sudden the prices double.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Devin, this isn't really like we can't work with them. Prices double. So the prices are the same. So it's like,
and in the production space, that's not unheard of.
Yeah.
Like some people charge double.
Oh yeah, of course. It's all over the board. I mean, someone will do it for 10 grand. Another person will do it for $1 million. Like it's that insane. Like it's that crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they kind of, they just checked all the boxes, and I was obviously nervous to break the news to clients, and then they all went super well. And I'm still consulting with them. So I still work with them. I was on a call with them all morning, and yeah, I'm technically on a 6-month consulting contract just to make sure that everything goes smooth. I'm on shoots still, all of that stuff. So
yeah, that's super cool. And then like, obviously, so they contact you 4 months before the actual sale happens. What steps are you taking to maximize like I guess maybe a little bit of both. So you're maximizing what the value you can give them so you can charge the most. You're also maximizing your processes and a few things. Like, what are you doing in that time?
Yeah. So obviously when you want to sell a business, you have to have your accounting has to be dialed. You can't have hiccups in your accounting, because when someone approaches you to buy your business, they sign contracts saying they're like, everything's private, right? And they're taking a look at every single thing. Like they looked at 5 years history of our books.
Wow.
Wanting to see, a steady growth, wanting to see it's continuing to grow. And then a big thing was, how long have these clients been around? So as a video production company, yet not the most sellable business. People don't build them to sell them like a tech company, right?
Yeah,
we have these many subscribers, we get this much revenue every month. It's not like that. But what we had were a large bucket of clients that have worked with us for 4 years plus. And that's what they were buying. Yep. But if all of our clients were one-off projects, they wouldn't have bought us.
So do they buy your portfolio too? Like the pieces of work you've made for those clients, and they can then pitch with those pieces of work?
Technically, yeah. Technically, they own everything. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And the big thing too was making it clear with them, like, hey, we don't need to reinvent the wheel with these clients. Like, let's keep a consistent style. And they've been doing a great job of that so far. Like every project they've done for an Into Motion client has matched the style that we were producing before, which is really
that's got to feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Just keep things like organized. Like, don't be a mess in your QuickBooks. And
it's so easy to let that stuff slip too.
Yeah. And then like when selling a business like this, they're not really concerned about revenue as much as they are profit. Because you could get one massive project where you need to spend a ton on location, talent, and gear rental, this and that. And it's like, but how much did you make on that project? And that's what they're going to want to know. So the revenue is less important than the profit. They want to see the profit consistently going up. And then they want to know where that profit came from and how long those sources have been there.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's kind of almost counterintuitive too, because like, at least for us, like, we're running a business where we're trying to have as many write-offs as possible. And we're balancing like, okay, we had a really profitable month. Let's buy a few lights and things like that to offset the taxes a little bit and just, play the game. Like, how quickly can I grow and have enough money in the account, but also like pay the least in taxes so we can continue to optimize and grow. So it's kind of interesting because as you're maximizing profit, you're paying more in taxes and your business is more sellable, but it's such a push and pull.
It's tough. That's why like the sooner you can make the decision on what your goal is with it, the better. Because I didn't know until last fall really. So I didn't have time to like prepare past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of books. But like I'd say if you could know like 2 years, 3 years in advance, and you can be like, okay, we're gonna do a hard push. Like we're gonna go into growth mode and maximize profit, not revenue. So we're gonna like cut expenses where we can, but still like do what we have to do and spend what we have to spend to grow. You're going to be able to sell your business for a lot more.
Yeah. And I think like, at least in this business, it takes a while to get there. Cause like, you know, I've worked with some clients for 2-3 years now, but we've been in business for 2-3 years. So like, you kind of need to have that like long, you have to be doing it long enough to like have bona fide processes. You have to have bona fide clients that really trust you, and you have to kind of know what you're doing a little bit. You know, it's crazy because like tech companies, like you had mentioned earlier, like they just create a product, a SaaS product, and they can like sell overnight. But for this, you need those relationships. Really, that's what you're selling, like you said, those relationships.
Yeah, and I think it depends. It's all going to depend on what business people are into, like. And I mean, it's definitely opened my mind though, and like the factor of next thing I start, or if I start another business, it's going to be like thought about right away.
What do you have in mind?
No.
You can't say it. No.
I knew you were going to ask that, but no, I got some ideas, but yeah, it's just nothing that.
Yeah.
It's very early, and I'm taking the summer off. I'm trading, and I'm in no rush, to be honest. Yeah. I'm getting married this fall, so
that's exciting, dude.
I gotta take care of all that first, you know.
By the way, let me think if I can say this. Me and my girlfriend have been dating for 5 or 6 years, and we went and looked at rings, and I came to the idea of a ring that I really like. She came to the idea of a ring that she really likes. Kind of meeting in like the middle of like what I think is like perfect for her, but I'm like really excited. I don't know. I really like the ring buying process. Yeah. It's the same ring as you bought.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. Right when I saw it, I was like, no way.
That's epic.
That's super cool. And then even Isaac sent me it. He goes, same damn ring.
Dang, nice.
Which is cool. Yeah. I think it's cool.
It's a cool style. I like it.
And I mean, nothing's set in stone. Yeah. I'm like in the early stages, but like what I'm dreaming of is like very similar.
See, I had no say. I was like, whatever you want. Like, you're the one that has to look at it all
You went
day.
and looked at them. Yeah. We went and looked at them together, and I also have a very indecisive girlfriend. Okay. So she's like really pumping ideas off of me. So it's more collaborative on our part, but that's funny. Yeah.
It's always the diamond size. Like Tia started small, and it just like slowly inched up. And then they're like, well, let's just try this one. Let's try this one. Yeah. And she's got small hands, and I'm like, that diamond is way massive. Too absurd.
Yeah. And Sav's somewhere in the middle too. She's like, I don't want it to like get in the way. You know, like you see like some people with just massive rocks, and you're just like, wow, okay, that's insane. Yeah. But that's super cool, dude. And I think like, I think I've slowly started to live life without a lot of rush. I was like, I would say the first 1.5, 2 years of this business, I was just like constantly stressed out of just like, we have to get to this milestone, this milestone, this milestone. And now I've just pulled back the reins, and I'm just like, I feel like you have to remind yourself as a business owner to like wake up a little bit, smell the roses, everything's fine. Look at all these things you've achieved, reflect on the last month, 2 months, year, and be like, wow, you know, we've done a lot. Yeah. And just like be happy. It's easy to compare yourself to everyone else and be like, oh, this person's doing this. Like I'm guilty of it. Like there's probably video projects that you were doing where I was like, dang, I wish I was doing that video project. But like at the end of the day, you just got to wake up, smell the roses, and be happy with what you've done.
It's hard. It's hard as like go-getters to like be happy with where you are at ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's super tough, right? It's hard to be like, oh, like you celebrate. Sometimes I feel like I celebrate good things that have happened for like a day. But then if something bad happened in the business, I'd like be pissed about it for a long time. And I'm like, why? It should be the other way around. Like you should move on from the bad things quick and celebrate the good things longer, you know?
And sometimes I'll reflect and be like, wow, that thing that I thought was a bad thing, that retainer client we lost was actually more of a headache than all these other, like sometimes it sounds bad because you lost a retainer client, you couldn't make them happy. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's actually a good thing because it freed us up a lot, and now we're doing bigger projects than we were.
For sure.
So, well, yeah, dude, amazing having you on. I guess the final thing I want to do is I want to hear one thing. I want you to drop some wisdom. What's some advice you would just give to someone who's like just graduated, they want to do something? What's some advice?
Yeah, I mean, first things first, if you want, to like start a business or just in general.
Start a business, maybe even just start a career. Yeah. You can keep it pretty broad.
Yeah, I mean,
I can start too.
Yeah. So for me, it's always been like finding a mix of something you're passionate about, but also has like massive growth potential, and you feel like you're not capped in any sort of area. So, but for someone just graduating, like I would say talk with a lot of people, ask a lot of questions, keep an open mind, and try a lot of different things. And then when you find something that you became obsessed with, go all in on it and spend a few years putting that early stage work in, especially if you're starting a business.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost like an exploratory phase of like, okay. And that's kind of what I feel in right now, because I just exited a business and have all this time and want to get into something new. Those people are in a very similar phase to me. Like, yeah, talk to people, ask questions, find a problem that you can solve, and then figure out a process that is scalable that can solve that problem.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah. Dang, that's really good. Mine, I guess one of the biggest things for me, and maybe this isn't as big for everyone else, but one of the biggest mindset changes for me was, sounds counterintuitive, but like taking on responsibility. And a second thing for me that was big was just leaving my hometown. Mm-hmm. I think like I was in my hometown, I was comfortable, I thought I had my people around me, but you realize like those aren't your people. Mm-hmm. Like leave your hometown, go find your people. And a big thing for me too was, like I said, taking on responsibility. I think I was like, I had a rent to pay. You did too. You had rent to pay. You had, maybe a car payment, maybe like a few different expenses. You're living on your own. I definitely didn't have the means to move out. I did. And that independence like lit a fire under me. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't have the choice to wake up at 8 and lay in bed till noon. Like I had to work. I had to like get going. I had to like self-start, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have enough money for rent, And it was interesting too, because I like left my hometown and then I started meeting people, all the people on this podcast, not one of them did I know before the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. Like it's insane that all these people come into your life and they mean so much to you and they drive you and motivate you so much. And like, you're one of those people. Tyler Bishop's one of those people. Bo Brooks, Devin, Caitlin, like all the people that have been on this podcast have like motivated me in some way. And I wouldn't have met him if I never left my hometown.
Yeah.
So
no, that's huge. Yeah. Get out of that hometown and go meet the rest of the world and
go to movement culture.
Go to movement culture, take massive risks. And when you're young, that is the time to take risks. And yeah, don't let other people scare you out of chasing even the craziest dream, because there's obviously always going to be a safer route. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you're going to be happier taking that route. Yeah.
Yeah. There's always a safer route, but in 10 years, you may kick yourself for not trying. You'll never regret failing, but you'll always regret not trying.
Definitely.
That's a good one. So
nice.
Well, where can they follow you, Devin?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow my Instagram. I don't do too much on there, but Winter Devin. But go follow Movement Culture.
Yeah.
MN on Instagram. And we're going to do an event eventually here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm waiting for it, man. I'm waiting for it. I'll bring the whole team. Yeah, definitely go to Movement Culture. I'm assuming that there's some young entrepreneurs watching this. Definitely go to Movement Culture. It's a great place. Come say what's up to me, Devin. Mm-hmm. Ryan will be there. Jeff will be there. Yep. Everyone. So
it's a good time.
It'll be a good time.
Thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah, of course. Peace.